right, let's call this meeting to order. Woohoo!
There you go.
Okay. So, do I have to say anything about this being like do you have to say anything official about this being like such and such board meeting, or we just get going? Okay, so Beth, call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Bodie?
Here.
Mrs. Gebhardt?
Here.
Mr. Gousset?
Here.
Mrs. Matney?
Here.
And Ms. Westmouth?
Here. All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Normally our flag is right over there,
Oh,
however,
yeah, we're-
and I'm thinking that it went to the high school and we
Oh,
haven't
no.
replaced it yet. Is my sneaky suspicion.
Chris can be our flag.
Okay.
Okay, feels weird. All right.
Wave.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quick work.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Dice.
you. Okay, so the first business at hand is the election of officers. So, beginning with the president, we're looking for a motion for a president for the coming year.
I'll do it. I move to nominate Emily Gebhardt in the position of president for Board of Education.
I'll second.
I thank you.
This feels right.
So shall we vote on this first and then do vice president? Okay, so Beth, call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gousset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
Ms. Westmouth?
Aye. Wonderful. Thank you all. I'm very honored to serve. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the vice president of our Board of Education. I suppose I can do it, or you
I
want to?
recommend Molly Wasmuth.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Beth, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gousset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Westmouth?
Aye.
Congratulations, Molly. Lack of confidence. Okay, so next we need to establish the time, place, and date of our regular meetings. We have typically gone with the second Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock, which I would propose we do again. So I'll make that motion and then do it. Is there a second?
Second.
And then discussion? I know previously there's been an issue in June.
So June, we typically try to schedule that one as close to the end of the month as possible. So June 28th would work. That would be the fourth Wednesday instead of the second. That would be ideal.
June 28th, you said?
Yeah.
And then none in July unless we need it?
We haven't typically scheduled
Right,
one in
we haven't
July.
Typically
unless-
done one in July, that's right.
Do we have the first date of school? I know that we have approved that calendar. August 15th, so if we were to have a meeting, if we follow our protocol, it would be August 9th. I just have the calendar in front of me, I'm not that quick. That would still work. That wouldn't put the leadership team in too much like stress, okay?
Before we get too far down the road, I'm going to be in New York on the 28th.
Of June.
I don't have to be here necessarily, but
We like you.
Do we want to just, do that one without Kevin, or?
I'm fine with that.
Well, Beth, do you have flexibility on that, or is it
So-
really need to be the last one?
So we could make the 21st work too.
Is that okay with you, though? Would that put you in a bind?
No, we could do 21st.
Okay.
Yeah, if everybody could do the 21st, that would work.
21st is fine.
Okay.
Do we want to very quickly, as I'm writing them down here, do the dates of if we do the second Wednesday for the calendar, just in case there's anything coming up, or we're just gonna go with second Wednesday and call it a day?
I'm very much just going with second Wednesday, and then we can broach them as we go. I don't know if you have your hunting trip planned yet. That usually causes an issue.
That's the third weekend in October.
Keep it the
That
third,
should
right.
work.
keep that.
Okay.
That should work.
All right, so we're looking at the second Wednesday of every month, except no meeting in July, barring us needing to call a special meeting, and switching June to June 21st instead of the second Wednesday, all at 7 PM. All right. Great, so that's the motion, it's been seconded. Beth, call the roll.
Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gephardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gusset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
Ms. Wassman?
Aye.
Okay, now there's a series of things that we do each year at the first meeting that are all fairly standard, all the way to S. So that would be C through S. Can we vote those all as one block?
I would do C through Q. No, yeah, C through Q because R and S are appointments of liaisons for OSBA.
Right.
So
Okay.
you could,
So
you would.
C
enter-
through Q, and then we'll move on to the
You would
OSBA
enter,
stuff.
if someone wants to, so you would entertain a motion for someone to approve C through Q.
That sounded like a motion.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I did.
Do you move?
I do move.
Second? Wants to second?
Second.
Oh, you're fine.
All right, Beth, call the roll, please.
So just real quick, Emily, if I can say that, so what I try to do is tell you if there's been any changes since last year
Okay, yeah.
in C
Sorry, I
through
should have asked
Q.
for discussion.
Just,
could.
there are two things that we took out this year. The first one is the treasurer's bond. So Ohio law used to require a treasurer to have an individual bond. The law changed a couple years ago and now allows treasurers to either have a specific bond or be covered under the district's insurance policy. So I am covered under the district's insurance policy. I actually sent a communication to the finance committee members, I don't know, a week or two ago from our insurance rep confirming that I am included in that. And so I did not renew that bond. And that bond has been $20,000 for probably for decades. The coverage that I have under the insurance policy is much, much greater. So there's no need to renew that bond. So I did take that out, and our board policy does support that. It does say that the treasurer can be either bonded or covered under the insurance policy, so that's consistent with our policy. And then the second item that we removed had to do with athletic passes with the Bobcat boosters. So that process has changed a little bit just over the last year or two. The ticketing and the Bobcat booster passes are all sold through the athletic office because they're all done electronically now. So in past years, the Bobcat boosters would actually sell the passes for the district and then turn over half of the money to the district and keep half of the money to later support the district. So that process has been kind of streamlined. We worked with Bob Rudder and the Bobcat boosters. The money all comes here because the ticketing and the passes are done electronically. And it doesn't make sense for us to then send money to them, for them to send money back to us. So, so their level of support will look like it's lower going forward, but it's not. It's just because they're receiving less from not selling those passes anymore. So there was a little blurb about Bobcat booster passes that was taken out. Everything else is identical with just the update for the year being 2023. So.
Okay, did we already motion and second that?
Yeah.
All right, so,
Okay, Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gephardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gusset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Wassmuth?
Aye.
okay, so now we can talk about the OSBA Legislative Liaison and the OSBA Student Achievement Liaison. Molly, were you the one who did this past year, or was it Katie?
I think I did it.
No, I did it. You're thinking of OSBA delegate.
The delegate.
I did
you're
the
thinking, yeah.
delegate. I think last year I was the
I think you were both, Molly. I think you might have
She
been
was
both.
Yeah, now
too.
that I'm thinking, I was like, I did it all.
And you were the
but
delegate for
I'm
the
also happy to
conference.
pass the
Okay.
torch. I'm looking down there. It's very,
Can you explain a little bit about what the
not really.
responsibility is?
It's whatever you make it. The OSBA, our central coordinator, reaches out with things, keeps in contact with our board. We talk about clearly the legislative liaison, what's going on with there, and then the student achievement. They're looking for things particular to Grandview. And I do mean that it's what you make it. You can be as involved as uninvolved, but it's a contact between OSBA and our board is essentially kind of what it is.
Okay. Any volunteers for legislative liaison
Tributes?
and/or student achievement?
You don't want to? It'd be fun.
No one's jumping at the chance.
Dan, Beth? You
Do
guys
we have to
can-
go to seminars or anything?
No.
It doesn't require
It's
anything
whatever,
in
like,
person.
you have opportunities to do PD and to go to these things, but you don't have to.
And
It's a
really-
contact.
And I don't know how much it differs from what we all have the opportunity to go to OSBA seminars.
Yeah.
We all get the emails from them that tell us about what legislation is going on and the calls to action kind of stuff. And whether you do it or not is up to the individual.
And when there are like potential significant proposed legislation, I also will chime in and update the board as well.
It's more of like this, you're a liaison. You don't necessarily have to, I'm like, speak on behalf of all board members, but if they need contact specific, like maybe they're looking from districts of this size, what are you all doing with this? So on and so forth, but it's usually, it's Kim,
Miller.
thank you. I was like, I want to say Kim Miller's who will reach out. I've been contacted, never.
Yeah. Well, I hate to say it. I mean, frankly, our legislative district doesn't hold a lot of sway
No,
at the state house these days. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll do it. You can put my name down.
thank you, Katie. Okay, so Katie is volunteering. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second?
It's for both, Katie. Do I have to go to seminars?
No.
No, great. Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. Beth, please call the roll.
Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gousset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Wassmuth?
Aye.
All right, now with the special business out of the way, we'll move on to our regular business. First up, we have minutes for special and regular meeting on December 14th. Any discussion on the minutes?
So moved.
Move to approve, yeah.
Move to approve.
Okay, Beth, call roll.
No, you have to take someone. So Eric moved. Hang
Did
on.
someone second already?
No, no one second.
I thought
I
Kevin just
second.
seconded.
Oh, I thought you
We
just
both,
both
we
moved.
both moved to approve, but I'll
Okay.
take a second.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
really
please call roll.
Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gebhardt?
Yeah, aye, sorry.
Mr. Gousset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Wassmuth?
Aye.
Okay, it looks like Mr. Culp is already getting ready for the next part of the agenda.
It'd be great if you told him to sit down. Wait till you called on.
Point of order.
I won't interrupt him this time.
You can.
Testing. Well, good evening, Board of Education. As all of you probably already know, January is School Board Appreciation Month. I would like to take an opportunity to formally thank each and every one of our 5 board members for their leadership and willingness to serve our community, our school district, our staff, and most of all, our students. Thank you to each and every one of you for your service. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for the poise that each of you show when under pressure. Thank you for expressing disparate views with one another so that we can think about differences in viewpoints to come to the very best decision for our students. Also, thank you for being so reverent and respectful to one another when there are disparate views. One of the things that I say to my leadership team often is it's great to disagree, but a really great sign of a high-functioning governance team is when you can disagree and at the end get consensus and for it to be okay. I have been so impressed with this group, our governance team's ability to disagree and demonstrate respect and reverence and poise in that disagreement, and at the end, continued to hold one another in high regard. In serving as a board member, you are a leader of our community and school district. I have learned that true leadership is about how one is able to serve others. Through your actions, you all have demonstrated service above self. Your ability to be a good listener, learn from one another and our community, read and be prepared for the decisions that we have to make, has and will continue to enable each of you to serve our students, our school district, our staff, and one another well. It is your desire to be a part of something bigger than oneself and contribute to making the Grandview Heights and Marble Cliff community and our school district, and most importantly our students' learning experience and overall experience, a place to maximize and personalize every student's learning. It is what makes Grandview Heights, each of you, are what makes Grandview Heights truly a small place to dream big for each and every one of our students we serve. You all don't get to hear it enough. Thank you for your service to Grandview Heights Schools. I know I serve as your superintendent, but it is a privilege and an honor to serve with each and every one of you. So with that, I have a small token of appreciation. So first and foremost, a certificate. Eric Bodie, congratulations and thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Emily Gephardt, congratulations and thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Congratulations on being board president.
Thank you.
Kevin Gousset, thanks for your service and congratulations. Kathleen, congratulations and thanks for your service.
Thank you.
And great job on our opening ribbon cutting.
Thank you.
And Molly, congratulations on being board vice president and thanks for your service.
Thank you.
And thank you, Andy, for the inspiring music as well. It's
Yes.
very well done.
Man. Thank you. Thank you for that very much. It
Heartfelt.
honestly, well, and I think I speak for all of us. I say we actually really enjoy doing this. It's a very rewarding experience to be a board member. So, and thank you for, so we have a chocolate bar up here signed by students. I love it.
Haley, thank you.
Haley.
Haley.
What? Haley's
So did they know what they were signing for, the thank you?
They did. Every single group, I went up and I said, do you know what a school board member is? And they said, yes, every single group of kids knew. Now, 4 of you have children in middle school, right after 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and they all knew what a school board member was and what
I
they
know.
did.
I see that my daughter's name is circled with a highlighter here, and she didn't say anything about it, so.
I told her and I met Sophia, and I said, we have to keep this a secret for tonight. And Sophia said to me, well, okay, but just so you know, my mom likes Butterfingers. So I said, well, all I got is coffee crunch.
That's close. It's like the high-class Butterfinger.
It is a high-class Butterfinger. That's sweet.
But I love that you
a bougie butterfinger.
Goodness gracious.
That's nice.
Well, thank you very much. It is appreciated. Okay, next on the agenda, oh, I'm sorry, is the recognition of guests and hearing of the public. Anybody want to speak this evening? Okay, we will pass that by. No one is here. Okay, building and department reports. Is there any? Nothing. Okay, superintendent's report.
So I'm only going to share 2 items. The first is we had a major move over winter break. And I want to firsthand thank Jim Buffer for his leadership the last 6 weeks in all facets of the move. You've done an unbelievable job, to include the hiring of the new moving company who did a fantastic job. I also want to thank all of our custodians and our maintainers for their tireless work, energy, and effort. I also want to thank our 3 principals. I think they did, all 3, a fantastic job. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank all of our staff for their flexibility and their work through this major move. Not an insignificant accomplishment, and I think by all accounts, unless I'm misinformed, which I do not believe I am, it went really, really well. So that's great news. And then the second thing I wanted to just congratulate really the board and everyone present, and send a special thanks to Haley Head for her planning and leadership and planning this event and helping plan this event. I thought it was a real celebration. And there are two things I want to say. You did a fabulous job with the interviews and the filming. One of the things that I forwarded it to you, but you likely haven't had a chance to see it. But one of the things that I'll point out to you in advance, if you haven't seen it, is the interviews with the community members and just, candid, from the cuff reactions. I think you'll really enjoy it, and it's validating in terms, from my perspective, in terms of why it is that we did it. And then lastly, somewhat related but unrelated, although we didn't get this on film, towards the very end, it was probably around, 2 o'clock, we were in the office, and a woman came in. She was an empty nester and declared herself as so, and had been for a while. And but she really was excited to see the building and hadn't seen it. And what she wanted me to be sure to know, and it was one of those situations, is the superintendent here? And I was like, oh, okay, this might not go well. But so I didn't know exactly where she was headed, truth be told. And she said, I want you to know this community got their money's worth. Wow. This building is amazing. So that made me feel really good to hear the community's feedback on film, but then also I wanted to tell you that, because that's unsolicited, unplanned feedback that was really validating.
That's great. That's great.
That's good.
And that's all I have.
All right, great. All right, moving on to the.
I did have one question. I don't, if I'm asking this of the wrong person, but I did see a mention of Bobcat groups, and that was something that I'm not familiar with. I don't have a middle schooler, so maybe all of you know what this is. But that was the first time I'd seen it, and be interested to hear more about that.
So I am speaking on behalf of Sean, but the Bobcat groups have come from their PBIS team, Positive Behavior Intervention team. And what they're doing is creating groups that are cross grade level. So what it does is it creates school community. It also helps all teachers get to know all students. So it's just time to work on social and emotional growth and just building that camaraderie, 4-8, and then teachers really knowing all the students in the school. It just helps to create
Is there a
tight.
scheduled time for that, or how does that work?
They're like once a month.
Oh, okay.
Can you
Yeah,
give us an
during
example or
STAR.
two?
I wasn't part of theirs, but if I take from what others have done, like you might do an activity where you there's a science experiment you do with pepper, and I can't remember the other chemical, but when you put it in, the pepper's the words that hurt, and they kind of like glob onto things, and you talk about how even when you say you're sorry, those words still are there. They kind of sit with people, so be conscious of your words. Sometimes it's a team game or a STEM activity. It just depends on what the PBIS team plans for those Bobcat groups.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so moving on to construction. I think we have Jay here to speak with us again.
Good evening, and congrats, Emily, Molly. It's
Thank
awesome. You. I usually talk about accomplishments and what's upcoming and some updates on ongoing issues, but it's a pretty cool accomplishment to be a part of the ribbon cutting. I know that a lot of you have been involved in a vision that's 7 years old, and Monday morning watching the students enjoy their new space was pretty cool, and as always, thanks for letting us be a part of that. But we did get to work, and we're already underway on phase 3. So after Grandview Heights Fire and Police did their tactical training for the week of the 2nd, and then I think the fire department's doing some this week, we are started on the abatement process. So as abatement goes, anything that's friable or as if it becomes airborne. If you disturb it, that can't come down with the building, so we have to abate. It's mostly piping insulation and fittings in the basement. It's a 2-week process, and that's underway right now as well, but we are moving forward on phase 3, which is the site enhancements part to the south of the Larson Middle School. Updates to ongoings for construction, starting off with the water event, where we had water damage to the west classroom wing. You know, again, I've shared it with Andy, but I'll share it that the support and the outreach and the positive, you know, feelings that staff members and others who were anxious to get into the building and wondering how they were going to move in there to their spaces in 2 days' time were still genuinely supportive, and I was really proud of how our team reacted. And so I can say that of the 4 or 5 rooms that were damaged, and they were significantly damaged by water, they are, you know, we'll say almost 100% restored. And that includes wall replacement, ceiling replacement, and flooring replacement. The things that aren't done yet due to lead times is the casework. So that whole casework along the west side of that exterior wall on classroom, I'm going to call it C215 because that's what our drawing said. I know it's another number, but the far northwest science classroom, that all of that casework minus the epoxy countertops is going to be replaced. And you know, it's functional now for the rest of the school year, but with its lead time, it's going to happen over the summer break. The casework in the wellness room as well was completely destroyed, and that could not be salvaged, so that's out of there. You know, the flooring's back down, I believe, in that room, but the casework is on order. That we'll try to get in yet this school year, but I would say it's at least 5 weeks from today before it's installed. So that's an update on that. I guess I'll pause. Are there any questions about the event or anything about the water damage?
I do have a question. Is it? You can go ahead.
I'm curious, and I just haven't had a chance to get in and see it. Is it painted fully now or no? The rooms on the first floor that
Yes.
they're
Yes,
fully painted?
They're painted, yes.
What about technology? Have the TVs been set up also? I literally, normally
Sure.
I just haven't had a chance this week to get in there.
Right. I do believe that they are. And
Okay.
I'm honestly going off of memory from the ribbon cutting.
Yeah, okay.
That was a Saturday, so if they weren't then maybe they weren't, but I know that email correspondence throughout the week has confirmed that. So any of the network cabling or the ends of the network cables that may have gotten wet have been retested. So they are ready.
Good.
For any technology to be reinstalled if it's not. I think that it is, but I don't know that for sure, I guess. So, yeah.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, and this is out of our scope of work, but a decent amount of furniture was damaged as well. That is on order to be replaced, and that one I don't have an update on the timing for that.
so when will the teachers be moved back into those rooms and ready to start classes in their originally configured spaces?
We anticipate Ms. Smith will be able to use her room tomorrow.
Tomorrow, and then Wapner, is that the name of the science teacher?
He's already back.
He's in.
Oh, he's already back in.
And there's
Oh.
no other.
He started Monday in his
Oh,
room.
wow, okay,
Wow.
that's incredible.
Isn't that
Pat yourself
remarkable?
for the back.
Yeah. And is the
It wasn't me, it
bathroom,
was a lot of other people.
the
that-
women's restroom that was there, is it functional now?
That should be
too?
functional now. It just needed after Saturday's ribbon cutting, it still needed cleaned, and we were working on getting a cleaning crew in there to clean it. It should be functional. I don't know if it's been turned back over to you. Are you aware, Jim?
I'm not certain.
No other
I'll
educator.
walk down at the end of this before I leave and check.
One intervention specialist is still rooming with another, but she'll be back in first of next week.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
I was like, no other educators.
Said differently, I think fair to say, by the end of this week, the one space that will not be usable in the way in which it was intended is it's called a wellness room. Different way to say it is a mother's room. That space it is not going to be ready in terms of how it was intended to be used.
We're not gonna
Correct.
get fined for compliancy on that one, are we?
No, because we have
Be
one
another
in the
space.
Okay.
admin office.
Okay. Because that's a compliance
But
thing.
then
Right.
for the furniture that was damaged, we have enough furniture that we can sort of get by until that's in, apparently.
Yeah, we've cobbled some stuff together.
Okay,
It's,
it's not as pretty as we would have liked,
It'll
but,
be functional, and that's great.
and it will get pretty again.
Right.
Just like ourselves.
And then in terms, I know I happened to be here the day that the new insulation was being put in the science room, where the water
Yeah.
event, as you called it, happened.
Yeah.
So, we feel confident that moving forward,
Yeah,
We have another-
without getting into too much detail, that west elevation was the only elevation that had plumbing up against the exterior wall. Now, typically, rule of thumb is that you don't put plumbing on exterior walls for just this situation. This plumbing was built inside of the room still, so it wasn't in the wall, it was inside of the room. We built out a chase, but we had other projects throughout, and it seemed like there was a west to east high wind on that night that seemed to really do some damage throughout the city. And there were existing louvers on that west elevation as well that was used. It was an old univent system. The building was heated from the walls versus from above like it is now. Those were blanked off and those were insulated, and so it was still, I don't know if it's a once-in-a-lifetime event, but just to further make sure this doesn't happen again, we did spray foam insulate that entire, and not just the room that got damaged, but that entire west elevation all the way back to the new addition. So the entire west elevation was fully insulated on all of those walls that had plumbing.
Jay, I don't know why I didn't
against
ask
them.
this before, but the other science rooms on the second floor there, did they have the same plumbing? And it just somehow
did.
they missed?
They did, yes.
Somehow that one didn't burst?
Right. But we did test the entire plumbing system on that one. So just in case it was disrupted but not broken free, and it was going to be an issue down the road, we tested them all just to make sure. So we're in good shape there.
Do you think we should spray those ones as well? So we sprayed
We
insulation
did,
on the one that broke.
even though we sprayed the one that had the break, and we
The me-
sprayed the adjacent rooms that
Okay.
didn't have the break as well. The whole elevation.
Gotcha.
Yep.
It's good work.
Well,
Okay.
thanks to your crew and all the contractors for
Yeah.
over
Lot of
winter
Yeah,
break coming in.
they did a
extra
great job.
hours.
Yeah. It was pretty neat to see. I mean, I think we're obviously very proud of the product, and it showed. They jumped right on it and got some stuff done. Even contractors that have moved on to other projects, like our demolition contractor was out the same day and then had a crew ready the next day and just jumped on it for us. Other updates, so the middle school gym flooring had been a point of discussion. So we were able to get the manufacturer's representative, Mondo, the manufacturer themselves, not just the manufacturer's rep, to come out. They did a manufacturer's cleaning application that Jim and their crew witnessed and was trained on, and it seemed to have immediate results, and I believe competition games are being played on right now. So luckily, yeah, that was the solution rather than something
Major
more-
difference in terms of friction and traction.
So far you're not hearing any more, have you heard feedback from Brad or
So there,
coaches?
yes, so there was a game, I think, last night or the night before, in the gym, and he was present for it, and he was talking with the refs, the coaches, the players, and all of them were satisfied with the traction that they were getting. I mean, it is totally improved. Now, I think importantly, having said all of that, we want to continue, and I know Jim shares this view, continue to monitor it and make sure that we're cleaning it properly and weekly and stripping it as it so needs, so on and so forth. Which is great news.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
absolutely,
great.
definitely.
So when we turned the building over initially, and we asked Jim and team to take a look, we did the punch list process. I mean, there were over 1,500 items. We did not get all 1,500 items complete. There's still 150 left to do. So I just want to also say that that doesn't mean just because school started that we don't have that obligation. So right now it's nights or starting at 3:30 and after, and it's going to be scheduled during non-school hours, but we'll see it through to completion as well. And then there's the Oakland parking lot consolidation. We've been pressuring the civil engineer to get us a design complete. Through that process, we discovered a utility pole conflict with where we want to bring the entrance in, and so they're working through that. We have a few options. One of them is a pole, I believe, only serves power that was for the middle school that's going to be demolished, so there's a few options there, but I know it's something that we really are anxious to get, but we are working on it. I would say that we're going to be pricing it next week. So as far as updates go for phase 3, so the power is off, water is off, gas is off, and the abatement is ongoing. We're going to officially start knocking the building down on Saturday the 21st and Sunday the 22nd. We've got our process. We'll notify the surrounding neighbors, and we have notified the city of Grandview Heights because Sunday is a non-working day, but we're asking for a variance for the safety of the students so that we can bring the building down safely while no one's in the building. We'll block off the south entrance and make sure that's unavailable to come out or in for that weekend period. So I believe we've coordinated with the event calendar, but we'll make sure that we do that again. But that's going to be, that's going to be exciting. And we also, we're going to palletize a few of the bricks from the Edison building, and we'll make those available to the community as well at the request of the district. I think that's it. If there are any questions, yeah.
Just one comment before questions. Jay, Tadina, and the CKE team purchased Lions Cub cookies for every single student and staff member on Monday as part of a
Nice.
celebratory grand opening of both buildings. I just thought that was really nice of you all to do.
Yeah.
Above and beyond, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I was
Put
going
up
to say
a
thank
lot
you too,
with a
because I
lot for
heard
a long
about it.
time.
My kids told me about it.
And those are bougie
Hear about
cookies.
that.
Hey, buying local, right? Staying local.
Oh, Eric, that's funny.
I asked if they could remember who actually gave them the cookies, and they did. They remembered it was Colleen.
Yeah.
They were like,
Colleen was
"Who's a
in,
Miss
Colleen
Colleen?"
was in the middle school assembly, and I was
She
in the
didn't
high
get
school.
mauled like she did with the Halloween candy, did she?
No, she
Good.
didn't. It was very orderly.
Well, it's a local business, which is
Yeah,
also
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That was very kind
Well,
of
thank you.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is.
It was very neat to witness on Monday.
I have one question. I don't know if you'll know this, or maybe one of you guys. Walking in the morning, I've noticed that there are still kids walking up Fairview to the middle school entrance, which doesn't seem honestly particularly dangerous right now or anything.
Right.
But I was just curious, as the demo in phase 3 starts happening, is that going to be an issue? Is that going to be blocked off, or will kids be able to continue walking that way? Or because I know that the directions or
Correct.
whatever that went out really said
Go to
Oakland and come up, or you can come down Fairview from the north.
Yeah.
But kids are coming that way.
Yes. So you are correct on all fronts. Number one, our directions do say go to Oakland, and that we do have kids, using the sidewalk that is across the street on the, what's that development called?
Eddington.
Eddington.
Yeah.
And it is our perception that that is safe. And we even consulted with the city about this to ensure that if we did have kids make that decision, that in their view it was safe. And they said that they thought that it was. We've met with our CKE team as well, and that building throughout the entire demo is going to be totally fenced and secure. And so we believe that that is safe. However, to your point, Emily, we also intentionally put in our directions that we mailed out to go to Oakland. But we did so with kind of understanding that there would still be students that would choose to cut through, for lack of a better word.
They're like water, they just find the path of like
Yeah.
least resistance.
Now, yeah, and you know, I like to think that, well, I would be a rule follower, but if I were a middle school student, I might be tempted to cut through as well. I think the important thing is that we believe, and the city believes, that it's safe. What I can do and will do is I'll get with Sean Hinkle, because it's primarily middle school students, I'm guessing, and just remind them, and not only remind them that we asked them to go to Oakland, but also, perhaps more important, have someone out there between the fence and the sidewalk.
Yeah, like I said, it's not that I necessarily saw it as unsafe right now. I just wasn't sure what it'd be like, because I've walked through there myself several days this week.
Right.
And there's really no traffic.
Correct.
Everyone, if cars are coming that direction, they go into the parking lot. They're
That's
not,
right.
So,
Yeah.
but
A question, so will the Fairview, pass through, will that be done this year?
I do not believe that it will be done. Now, and Jay and Jim have been part of this, so track me. What I do believe is this spring, they will start doing road work. So I don't know exactly, Jay might be able to talk about that more intelligently, but they will be doing some road work. My sense is that it's going to be into the following year before that's final. Is that your recollection?
It depends if you're talking about school year or calendar year, because I believe that,
I was referring to school year.
so this school year it will not be done. By the start of the 23-24 school year, it is slated to be done,
to be finished.
to be finished. So,
That's their
yeah,
estimate.
their schedule looks something like their utility work is going to happen in February through April. They will do one half, and I believe it might be the south half of Fairview, May and June, and then this north half of Fairview, July and August.
I know we were scrambling with them to try and get things done so that we wouldn't have the disruption of the school,
Right.
and then it opens, and
Yeah,
then we
and then
close
you've got
everything down
another-
again and
yeah.
have another
Mhm.
disruption, to try and make them more back to back.
I remember it's slated for August. We all know how that goes, where that's what they were trying to do, and that was the ideal, was to have it all. I
They've
don't-
hired a contractor, and I believe from what we've heard from EP Ferris, that is the case, that they're on schedule with making that happen.
May not be the first day, but should be pretty close.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Great. No more questions?
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah,
All right,
thanks, Jay.
thank you. Have a good night.
Exciting.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay. So the construction core team committee report. I don't know that there's a whole lot else to report on. I think we just covered an awful lot of what's been discussed, so.
I don't think there's anything more.
All right, moving on to business and finance. Beth, do you have a presentation for us?
I do. All right. So wanted to just start out with a couple of highlights. So through the end of December, so we're halfway through the year. So we are in the middle of a tax collection cycle with the county auditor's office. And with the resolution that the board approved tonight as part of the organizational meeting, I will be able to request the tax advances now. So I'll send that to the county auditor's office tomorrow, and then we will get weekly advances starting next week and through the end of that collection period, which will be a number of weeks. So I think there have been a couple weeks advances available. We'll get into I think it'll be the third one. So we will see taxes, tax revenue coming in starting this month, that I'll have an update for you for next month. Interest for the month was $31,403. So we are, continuing to see the interest rates rise. Star Ohio was almost 4.5% at the end of December. So that is good. Our expenditures, I thought this was pretty fascinating. We're halfway through the year and our expenditures compared to our budget are exactly 50.0%. So couldn't be any closer to where we
Too bad.
expect to be. So the investments I mentioned are, in addition to Star Ohio, the investment account we have with US Bank, the average yield to maturity is a little bit lower, and that's just because we had some investments from a while back, and as they mature, as I explained last month, as they mature, that rate is gonna catch up. So permanent improvement fund, there's really been no change here. I did, in the last construction payment that I made, I did use that money that we had earmarked for, there were a handful of things, the roof. We had encumbered, we had a purchase order, for the roof as part of that overall project. And I did use that funding, in addition to our bond proceeds, to pay the last construction draw. So there are fewer things pending here. There are a few other funds that we have. The Sutton money I will include in the next draw. And then the other donations and contributions that we have are all site plan related. So as that site plan gets going, that money will be used at that time. So the construction fund, our December interest, a little over 34,000. So we, again, have exceeded what we expected just because in the last, 5 or 6 months, those interest rates really going up. So that has definitely helped us. So we are just shy of 1.9 million in interest earnings for the project. Soft costs, 80% spent. I did pay for all the rest of the furniture today. Those invoices are reviewed and approved by Concord Addis, and then I pay them. And so that soft cost number is going to jump way up by next month. Construction costs almost 95%, and our fund balance at the end of December was about 6.2 million. So I did pay another draw today. That was about $500,000. So we're winding down for sure. There are just a couple small investments left in our US Bank account for the construction side. Most of what we have left is in our Star Ohio account, which is the higher interest rate anyway. So that's all good news. So that's really all I have to share.
I have a question, for the damage that happened because of the water.
The water event.
The water event. That's what I'm gonna call it from now
The
on.
water event.
So our insurance is obviously going to cover it, but are we paying out of pocket right now and then being reimbursed? Is that how it's?
So great question, Emily. So so Jim, Andy, and I had a call with, they transferred, because of the size, the dollar amount of our claim, the expected costs, they transferred it from a typical adjuster to a large loss investor or adjuster, and we just had a conference call with him on Monday. And actually, things are going really good. We have gotten him all the estimates. The CKE team has been great. Jay and his team are organizing all of the individual contractors, what their quotes are. He had prepared a spreadsheet that I shared with our adjuster. The adjuster was beyond happy with what we had provided, the information, the estimates. And in fact, which I was a little bit surprised, told me yesterday, sent me a form and told me that they would advance us funding to start covering these. So we have not paid for anything out of pocket yet. Elford is going to pay those individual contractors for the construction work, and then they're going to bill us. And the things that we will pay for directly out of pocket are the furniture. That's a soft cost item. So Deborah Colasar and her team at Moody Nolan are in charge of that. They have gotten a list of the furniture that was damaged and in the process of getting a quote. And once that does come in and we get invoiced, we will pay that directly. And then there was a little bit of technology work, just hiring someone to come in, take the TVs off while they're re-drywalling and cleaning those rooms up. We didn't want those TVs damaged by drywall dust and all that. And then a very small amount, some teachers had some books and posters and things like that were damaged in the rooms. So, anyway, they
So
are sending us $100,000 cash advance to cover those costs. And so as we incur those costs to actually pay them, we will draw additional funding. So it has not been, the burden that I thought it might be initially.
It's good.
So,
That's
yep.
definitely good. But then we are going to incur some cost that was additional, that's not covered by insurance, like that insulation.
Spray foam is
Yeah.
the one thing that comes to mind. Our deductible is $2,500, so we'll pay the first $2,500 of the cost. We're probably looking at somewhere around $250,000 total for everything. And depending on the furniture, actually, it's gonna be a little bit more than that.
Yep.
So we don't have a quote on the furniture, but, so we'll have the deductible and then that spray foam, and I think that was in the maybe
wasn't that much.
6,000,
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I
thought it was
thinking.
5,000 for the spray foam.
Yeah, I thought it was like 5,500 or something, so
Yeah.
we're all thinking in the
Right.
5 to 6,000.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, and I would affirm Beth's, I think it was 250 with the furniture quote outstanding.
Wow.
So, yeah, the insurance team has been great to work with. They are taking care of it. They have asked for certain documentation and they have had, some of their own people come out and look at things. But from our end, they are taking care of everything, and getting us back to going. So, yep, all good news. It's going real smooth.
Any other questions? All right, so, we don't, this is my question, as my first time running a meeting, do we have to vote on anything regarding what you present to us each month? No,
No.
because that would all be covered under the things later.
5-year forecast we do, right?
Well, yeah, then that'll show up
But
as
that
a
would,
separate,
that
okay.
would be like its own item.
So this is just presentation, and then the finance committee report.
We met at the end of December, and it will shock you all to hear that we discussed Kids Club.
Every month we check in.
Facility construction budget and ongoing things with AEP and the Marble Cliff revenue sharing. It was a pretty quick meeting. At this point, I think we've all, nothing
Yeah,
surprising out of
nothing.
that. But we met very late December, very quick meeting, and
Oh, that's right, I think break had already begun for the children,
break had
I think-
begun for the children, not the adults.
not the, yeah, that's right.
Not-
It was like that Monday, the
Yeah.
first Monday of.
Yeah, it was I wanna say the 20th. No, the 19th, as I look at the notes that Beth provides for us, but it was, a lot of things that have been covered, nothing of any excitement.
Okay, now we can move on to business and finance under C, 1 through, let's see. Now, 1 through 9, however, we don't need to break out the tax budget things for any reason, do we? No, we can just do that all as a group. Okay, so C 1 through 9, a motion,
So moved.
second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
I just wanted to ask, so I saw the lawn and landscaping, and I know that there was some movement that we've had before, some success, and so I didn't know if this was any different than we've done last year, more or less.
It's a renewal of the contract with Cornwell, and basically it's 3% increase from the previous year, but continuation of services.
Same contractor?
Same contract, same company.
Successful, okay, thanks.
Thank you,
Actually,
Mr. Buffer.
That reminds me of something I meant to ask earlier, and with more regard to construction. If the grass out front doesn't come in, they won't have anything to mow. No. Will we do reseeding if it, okay,
I've asked that of Jay.
yeah,
That's under their purview.
okay, all right.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So I just because it was kind of, that seed was put down pretty late.
Yeah, it
And
was.
so I can see a little bit,
Yeah, me
but
too.
we'll see. And then I don't know if perhaps someone can speak to 6 real quick about the sports work design contract. Can someone say like what exactly that consists of? This has to do with the track replacement.
So my understanding is that this is a precursor to our ability to more accurately target potential companies that build a track, and that this work will position all potential clients that do this work to more accurately bid to the district's advantage.
This is,
And this comes highly recommended by our owner's rep, Doug Addis.
and this is work that needs to be done if we are to do a new track.
That's
Or
correct.
it needs to be done, period.
That is correct.
So no matter what we do, this has to be done.
That is
Okay.
correct.
It's not wasted money, in any way, and I know I asked specifically on the side about, this, and so I'll share it with the group, that I was concerned. I didn't quite understand what was at work here, and I was like, well, we have to put it out for competitive bids, so are we binding ourselves to a company by virtue of doing this? And the answer was no, this is totally separate. And then after you get this done, then this allows you to take it to bid and get a more accurate and better result there. Okay. So, any other questions, discussion? All right, Beth, please call the roll.
Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gephardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gousset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Wassman?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to personnel. We have A 1 through 6.
So
Have a
moved.
motion?
Oh, sorry, so
No,
moved.
that's good. And
Second. You beat me to it.
any discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gephardt?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye,
Gousset?
sorry.
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Wassman?
Aye.
Okay, is there a policy committee report?
We did not meet.
Okay, great. How about teaching and learning committee?
We met today.
Yeah, it was like we met 3 hours ago.
Yeah, we met today. We talked about a new program that the school has invested in called School Links. That's gonna allow us to track data from previous graduates, as well as probably do letters of recommendation and some other features that, especially for students that are in high school and moving on. I know that's one of the things that we've been really looking for, and I know Rob especially, you've tried to do that in the past and it's difficult. And this program should help us do that much more effectively. So that was one thing that we talked about. And we talked about some math options for allowing students to not necessarily have to take Algebra 2. And we have been approved to teach a course, right? We actually have approval to do that.
We approved to pilot a course.
The pilot course as part of a pilot program. Yeah, those are kind of the highlights.
So that course, I know that that's been in our weekly updates that we get via email, that's been referenced in there. What exactly is it? And I guess who's your target audience for that?
Okay, so it is a math and modeling reasoning course. It's a quantitative reasoning course. And the target audience are kids who are probably going to college. It can be any child who's really not interested in Algebra 2 and going on to the next phase in math. But it really is for students who may be going to college and getting a humanities degree or a degree that doesn't require that higher level math, but it's supposed to be very engaging, very hands-on, real life application. So there's a pilot program through ODE, and we're going through, you had to apply, you had to be accepted, and we got our acceptance letter today.
Right.
So Kevin Richards then is going to teach that course, and he'll spend 4 days in the summer. He'll be part of a cohort that will check in a few times throughout the year, and he'll have 4 days of training beforehand. So the curriculum is already designed for us, and then he'll be part of a cohort that gets feedback. And then the math department will kind of identify kiddos that they feel like would be the right fit for that program.
There was
Be open to everyone, but there are kids that we will kind of identify as this may be the better fit.
There was a second math course that we were gonna offer too, and was it instead of FST or was it instead of?
It's replacing FST.
Okay.
It does the same thing, but it's a half of year of the qualitative reasoning and a half of year of full statistics. And that way, that gives students who may be going to humanities or those types of career pathways, it gives them an opportunity to earn their first college credit. A lot of students are doing that and taking statistics, AP statistics. So, and they're having to work really hard in AP stats. So this gives them an opportunity at a level that is still really competitive, but not at that AP level. And it just opens some doors for kids. It gives them another opportunity for a college credit plus class, and Emily Meister is going to teach that class.
That's a college credit plus class, you said?
Yeah.
And did you said, I'm sorry, because I don't, forgive my ignorance, did you say FST? What is that?
Something.
Okay.
Action, statistics, and
Math words.
trigonometry.
All of the
Math words that I don't know.
And this is no change in FTE, it's just gonna be a not reallocation might not even be the correct word, but we're just modifying. And with these 2 pilot classes, so to speak, we will have a broader range of math classes to offer. So what kind of blows my mind is we still have the same math department, and we have this much more. And
We have
this small school district, and we have this many opportunities,
It
so-
is very amazing. Like
yeah.
we brought this, when we talked about this as a math department, I just kind of threw it out there and said, the Ohio Department of Education has this opportunity. And I had 2 teachers instantly like, I'll do it. Yeah, we could rework this and that. So it's really, we have amazing staff that are really excited to do great things for kids and willing to try new things.
So this other one's moving forward too, the one that was half statistics, half qualitative reasoning?
Yes.
Great.
And they have, we talked about the 3rd grade test. Did you want to hit that? Because this is
go for it.
exciting.
Yeah.
So we had the first release of the scores for our 3rd grade reading guarantee. Last year, our percentage that passed on the first time was 60%. This year,
82.
already, what'd you say?
82.
82.
Wow.
82. And we have consistently the last 8 years, there's always been 100% passage rate, so we're doing amazing.
We are not far removed from COVID. These are kids, you're
Yeah.
talking about 3rd graders who
Yeah.
were like in kindergarten when that was all
Was it
going on.
kindergarten or
So-
first grade?
Highly disrupted, yeah.
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 But that's, and math was the subject that we had the most room for improvement over COVID.
Yeah.
Is that,
That's true. I think parents are more comfortable supporting their
oh, you can read
students.
a book real easy.
Yeah.
I can't say trigonometry, it's fine. I can't do it. But no, there's a lot to celebrate, and it still blows my mind that I'm like I said, I was like, we're a small school district, and we're still changing and offering, and
We have great
there's
staff.
awesome things going on.
We talked about one other thing, and I just want to highlight that really
Did we?
quick, is with the dyslexia law,
Oh, yeah,
the
darn
K
it,
through
yeah.
3 teachers are required by state law to have 18 hours of professional development over the next, K and 1 had to have it done before the start of the 23 school year. And then 2 and 3 had to do the following year, and almost all of Stevenson teachers are completely finished with the dyslexia training modules. So they worked really hard while everybody was moving. They were working really, really hard on those modules as well. So I want to just commend them for putting the work in and trying to get that as finished as quickly as they could, so.
That was good leadership on behalf of the district for, instead of doing the filler or whatever, getting ahead. Like the fact that there was not a moment wasted in getting ahead of things that might not necessarily be educators' favorite things to do.
Agree.
That was a good move.
Thanks.
Sounds like you guys were very productive this afternoon.
It was like a half an hour chat. We
Well,
got it done.
That's a synopsis of something that's been ongoing for a long time though, so yeah, all very exciting. Okay, it looks like we have one item under curriculum and instruction to vote on. So that would be B1, the Master Exchange of Services Agreement. So can I hear a motion for that?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second it. I was
Okay,
just
so
at-
discussion.
is that fee waivers?
I'm pulling it up here, hold on.
Angie's nodding yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
That's exactly what that is.
Fee waivers.
I got trigonometry out, I'm gonna stop.
You're almost to the end of the meeting. You just-
I'm very excited.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion, Beth, can you call the roll?
Mr. Bodie?
As an employee of Ohio State, I am recusing myself and abstaining from the vote.
Very proud of you.
Mrs. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gousset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Wasmuth?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to co-curricular activities and extracurricular activities. A1, volunteers. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gousset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Wasmuth?
Aye.
Any other items for discussion? No, okay, and no executive session this evening, so I believe that we get to adjourn this meeting. Beth, please call the roll. We have to do that, right? So,
Move
do
to
we have to move?
Move to
Move to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Are you moving to adjourn?
I'll second.
Okay.
Who moved?
I'll move. I didn't, but I will.
Oh, Eric did.
No, you have to move to adjourn.
Well, I move.
He thought, anyway.
Okay.
We got it's covered.
Mr. Bodie?
Aye.
Mrs. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Gousset?
Aye.
Mrs. Matney?
Aye.
And Ms. Wasmuth?
Before I
Do I
say.
get to hit the gavel again at the end?